I've got many more faults than anybody can count, but a lack of self-confidence is not one of them. This this lack of self-doubt that I've got has led me to make many blunders. Many of you know what that's like. But the truth is that this last number of weeks worldwide has really been a stock taking time. It's been a time when people have been isolated in large measure from the outside world and have had time to take an assessment of their lives, their marriages, their families, their waistlines, their success or failure. We've had a chance to audit ourselves and look at what we think the measure of our successes are. For many of us, that's been our portion. Now, the reality is, when we audit our lives, the world has clear indicators of what success means. The address you live at, the car you drive, what your Strava record is, your golf handicap, your salary, number of notes on your annual income. Those are all ways that the world gauges success. The people that Paul wrote to, Colossians 2,000 years ago, were not too different to that. They might not have had smart watches to read their heart rate, but they hero worship their sports stars. They put a huge value on trade. They put a value on how their houses look, how they're dressed, the chariots they drove. There was a big value on the external stuff. And Paul addressed this issue of success in the people he spoke to. Let's look at a couple of verses in Colossians chapter 2, verse 6 onwards. So then, just as you've received Christ as Lord, continue to live in him, rooted and built up in him, strengthening the faith as you were taught, and overflowing in thankfulness. Make sure that nobody takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy, which depends on human ways and the basic principles of this world, rather than on Christ. He makes a couple of points here. He says to them, don't be sucked into the world. Recognize the world's ways and be careful not to become sucked into that measure of life, that measure of success. He says, make sure you overflow with thankfulness. This man living in prison and facing huge hardship is careful to be grateful. And he urges them to do likewise, to look for stuff to be thankful for and to live a life of gratitude. But a few verses later, Paul expounds on what true success looks like in the Christian world. For us as believers, Paul boils it down to this one thing. Are you alive in Jesus or not? Look at these verses. For in Christ, all the fullness of the deity lives in bodily form, and you have been given the fullness of Christ. His point as to what success is have you been buried to your old life? He says that a bit later. After Easter, important things to bear in mind. Have you died to your old self? Have you been raised up in news of life? And have you been filled with the fullness of the knowledge of Jesus Christ? That's the bottom line as to what success is for us as believers. Has my life, has my marriage, has my family been filled with the aroma of Jesus? Am I pursuing Christ and being successful in the sense that I am full of Jesus? Ezekiel talks about these dry bones, metaphorical or actual. There's difference of opinion about whether they were real or just a picture prophetically. But the point is, he sees this valley of dry bones that have no life whatsoever. And God says, I can draw this together. I can bring my life into this dead valley, put the bones together, bring sinews and ligaments and muscle and tissue, and breathe my life. That's success. The life of God flowing in us, through us. As believers, we have success when we're full of Jesus Christ.